Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Welcome to a new year here at the Blue Ribbon Podcast. Well, it's been an exciting day. We hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube for the first time. So looking forward to hitting, 50, 60, 70,000. That'll be awesome. Hope everybody had a good, safe new year. I have been going through my honeydew list, so I've been painting and fixing and all that kind of stuff. So we are going.
You need to go back to work so you can get a break.
Right. So I'm going to. I was looking back through our feed, and we did a year-end of 2019 episode, and I'm going to play just a couple of minutes of that because I found it to be very enlightening, some of the stuff that we said. So this will kind of put us in the way back machine here, and let's let this play for a second.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the podcast. We are getting ready to rip-roar into the roaring 20s. We want to talk a little bit about goals and planning and New Year's resolutions. I think, if we could take a second, 2019 was a rough year for a lot of people, and we more than doubled the size of our fleet in 2019. So we're kind of the anti-story compared to what was happening in the industry with almost 1,000 carriers going out of business. And, it was really dark for a lot of people. And we had a great year. You can qualify it just about any way, but 2019 for Blue Ribbon was a successful year. And, we learned a lot. We had a lot of experiences that taught us a lot of good lessons. But, we're not crying in our soup right now. We're pretty fired up about going into 20. So, you got anything you want to say about 2019 before we get into 20?
Well, I do. 2019, it had its challenges, by all means. We worked harder to keep our driver average pay as close as we could to 2018. Wasn't quite as good, but 2018 was a really, really unusual year, But
yeah,
look, between around 900 trucking companies went out of business last year. 900, okay? We not only did we not go out of business, we didn't even stay the same. We grew in 2019. But we have said this. Look, our business model allows us to function profitably in any market environment. We just proved it. We just proved it. Our drivers made what we said they were going to make. We were profitable. We grew the business. We added trucks. We're still adding trucks. 2020, depending on who you talk to, the outlook is similar to 2019. There's starting to be a little more
Boy, did we only know.
optimism in the second half of the year. About capacity and rates starting to equalize. But if it does, great. If it doesn't, look, people. I just get tickled at these people that get on Facebook and complain. There was a guy on there. I called 24 loads and couldn't get one.
So I thought that was just.
By the way, we're both wearing the same shirts today that we were wearing a year ago.
We didn't plan that, by the way.
It looks like it anyway. It's not. This is brand new, so it wasn't. But it looks exactly like it.
Well, it's interesting to me that 2019, because we came out of 2018, right, which was just the biggest year on record, and you had a lot of people that got a serious wake up call in 2019 that things were 2018 was not normal. Is like a bunch of people thought, I'm finally getting what I'm worth, and 900 to 1,000 companies went out of business, and we grew, and we recorded that. I think let me look here. I think it was January 19th. So, what about 6 weeks before the shit hit the fan? So I wanted to put that on the record, for people that hadn't seen it, because we're about to say a lot of the same stuff. We grew the fleet. People, were just having a terrible time, and we just kept on trucking, and so, obviously 2020, I didn't see that one coming, but yeah, we've now practically doubled the size of the fleet again. So, I guess let's start, March, end of February, 1st of March is when the alarm bells started sounding. And by the end of March, boy, it was looking bad, and we went back and looked at the numbers, and you said it was down about 25%, right?
March, April, May.
Yeah. So March, April, May, the gross revenue was down 25%. And not only was it down 25%, but keeping the trucks loaded, gosh, I bet you there were days we made 100 phone calls.
Oh, wow. I know we did.
And I would book.
I usually spend about 2 hours in the morning, 3 hours maybe, booking all the loads for the drivers that I dispatch. Okay. During that 3 or 4 month period, I wasn't finished at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, doing what I normally would be done with by 10 o'clock in the morning. So because, like I mentioned another thing, I can make 20 phone calls and have the whole fleet booked. I can make 20 phone calls, then not have one load booked, So
yeah, I can remember. I don't remember who it was for. It's for one of the drivers, and I booked a load and it canceled, and I booked it again and it canceled again, and they call me back. Hey, it's on. I'm like, well, okay, good, and then they call me again and it's off again, and I said, I'm not doing this again. I'm gonna go find something else, and just having to call and call and call and call. Nope, canceled. And I mean, it was just the whole market was on fire. But, think about, I'm trying to think back. I never had a horribly prohibitive truck payment. When I was leasing a truck, the expenses were high. But when I owned the truck, my truck payment was $1,275. But man, a 25% reduction in revenue would have done me in. I'd have been up the creek. So we get March, April, May. About 1st of June, it really started to turn around, and I'd say by the end of the June, the rates were back up in 2018 territory, and really haven't shown much sign of slowing down. And I'm wondering, I don't know if we'll ever know. Is it really the freight levels? Was it not enough capacity? Are there still people sitting at home? Because you don't seem to have the narrative like we did in 2019 about all the companies that have gone out of business. You don't seem to hear that much in the trucking media now like you did then. So I don't know where they went, So I don't know if it really was a capacity problem or I remember maybe it was February, there was this lady that put a video out on Facebook. She was a container driver out of the port of L.A., and she's like, y'all got to look at this. See, there's no containers. I mean, she's like, they're usually stocked up 8 high here, and where they had shut down shipping from China. And I guess it probably took 6 months for that to really come back. So, did you make a list when we were talking the other day? Because we had some talking points, and I didn't have anything wrote down. I know we wanted to talk about the drop in revenue.
Well, so the big thing, again, is that we were able to continue to grow and be profitable in probably the worst, economic downturn that I've been through. Well, I guess it was. So even when the fuel prices were high, the rates didn't get like this. So this will make the third. I went through one in '09 and in 14, and now in 2020. And I'm sure this one probably was the worst one. But the big picture, the big message here is that look, our goal is to take people who are first-time business owners, first-time owner-operators, and show them a way to do this with minimal risk. Because people who are doing this the standard way had a lot of trouble this year in March, April, May, I'm sure. And our model, it's not affected by that much. I mean, I was just looking through some of our averages. We're doing, easily 7,000-8,000. Some of you 9,000. Some of you 10,000 a week right now in gross revenue. During that March, April, May, we were struggling to get 4, 5, and 6. So
Yeah.
it was affected. But the bottom line is, it didn't put us out of business. It didn't affect it. We could still haul freight and still make money. We didn't have to send the trucks to the home and the driver's home. Everybody stayed working. Everybody made money. And when you throw in the little Landstar incentive that they gave us, and I passed that 100% through to the drivers, so that kept them within a couple of $100 of what they were used to making. So that, I think that's the big message is that this again is proof of concept that doing it this way, it just removes all the risk, or a big part of the risk. It's still, still can mess up, but the chances of you having to having to go out of business because of the economy tremendously goes down when you don't have debt and when you don't have a super expensive truck, and we were hauling freight for $1.50 a mile and making money, where a lot of guys just could not do that. They just could not haul freight for that amount of money.
Something you talked, so Landstar, to clarify that, Landstar did a program for a couple months where they would add $50 to each load.
For the agent and the driver, $50 each.
Yeah, so each would get, so we passed it on through to the driver. So I got thinking about that this week, and I remember you had said a few years ago at the truck show, Landstar would have a theme, and one of the themes one year was one more load. Mm-hmm. And that the average BCO, I think you said, was 1.5 loads a week that they hauled. Well, we were doing 5. Right. That's our normal thing, is 5 loads a week. And at that kind of utilization, we were passing $250 a week through to the drivers if they were hauling 5 loads. Right. I usually had 3. I had a lot of direct customer dedicated freight, and that didn't slow down at all. Well, it kind of did. They tried. The governor of Pennsylvania tried to shut them down, and then they all told him to have a Coke and a smile. So I was really unaffected by the whole thing, and it was so interesting to watch, because I would start having really interesting conversations with people, because I'm hauling windows, and so I'm seeing the installers, and I'm thinking, okay, so what are you guys doing? And they're like, nothing different. We're going to the houses, and we're finishing the projects, and we're putting in the windows and the doors. And I'm like, well, what are the customers like? And they're like, no different, And so that was a big part of going through this crisis of seeing things that I just can't unsee, and having experiences. It was interesting to watch the market respond to this development, and of course to see the truck stops, some of their behavior was just absolutely abhorrent, shutting down restaurants and stuff that, I think this was a blessing for them, because they can lower their costs. So I'm not a big fan of how truck stops handled all this, but so now here we are. getting ready to go into 21. A lot of unknowns. A lot of people are really, because they don't know what's going to happen January 20th. That's going to be the big thing. And I got a bunch of people that believes it's going to go one way and a bunch that believes it's going to go the other way. And I'm sitting here going, I just don't care. It's going to go one way or the other. Or maybe they'll both just say, I am the king. And we'll have 2 inaugurations. Wouldn't that be fun? So can you think about any, obviously, digital communication was huge this year. People, boy, if you had stock in Zoom, it'd been good. I think it's been interesting to watch. Like I got a sister-in-law here half mile away. She hadn't been in the office in probably 10 months, and I think it's been nice to see. I think companies probably were reticent. What's that word?
Reticent
to let people work from home, thinking their production would go down. So I think we've learned that remote work works. So that's kind of an interesting development. Have you seen anything interesting out of the market that's come about in this that we didn't see coming?
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's all our tolerance for not having to be face to face. There a couple of years ago, you couldn't pay a doctor to treat you over the phone.
Oh yeah.
Or you couldn't even refill a subscription or prescription. Without going in first and doing an office visit. Now they don't. Now they're like, please don't come. Stay home. So and my wife is a retired teacher and she still coaches student teachers. Whoever would have thought that you would have trained teachers over Zoom. So I think the big thing is just our acceptance now that things don't have to be done. In person. My son is in a job where he used to travel 3 days a week, and his company, like ours, is still growing. They're doing very, very well. He's in a logistics industry as well, just a little different aspect of it than we're in. But his company hasn't suffered at all, and they don't travel at all. So it just goes to show you that we can adapt to whatever the climate is and whatever the requirements are, and still business as usual, for the most part. Now, obviously there's a lot of things that people do leisure wise that are being affected right now, and without getting too much into the politics of that, I think that's going to slowly get back to normal. I think the people are going to be very, very falsely secured by the idea that they can get a shot, and be whole again and not have any risk and that sort of thing. But on a little bit bigger scale, the thing that is frightening to me is that if we had talked about this, say 2 years ago, do you think that every American would give up as many liberties as we have given up over what we've given them up for, and it not require bullets and blood and I would have bet the farm.
Yeah. I 100% believe that the line was like way, 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 way back, But, okay, it's an interesting perspective. And when in March, and they started talking about shutting down March Madness, and, that's NASCAR's just started. They're 5 or 6 weeks in, and the NFL's just finished, and I'm thinking, there ain't no way. They're not going to put up with shutting down March Madness. And, NASCAR fans will riot.
Right. And
then they didn't. Well, I looked, and in 2019, about 10 million people watched March Madness. You're in Kentucky. You got blue blood running through your veins,
Hey, we won today. The basketball team and the football team both won today. So,
I thought there's no way. But then I went, okay, well, wait a minute. 10 million people watch the March Madness, 20 million people watch Super Bowl, and about 4 million people watch NASCAR. That means there's 300 million people that don't give a rip about any of that stuff, you know?
Right.
And it was just such an interesting kind of observation that there are things put in front of us because they're sponsored and they're put into these big television networks and they're put in front of us like they're a big deal. And we're going, nah, maybe it's not such a big deal. You know, who cares if the NASCAR race doesn't run? Who cares if there's not March Madness? Now, it's been a big deal for kids sports. You know, that's here in West Virginia, Governor the Hutt, he just shut down winter sports till, I don't know, March or something. And that's a line that we're creeping up on. People are getting really tall. And there was a video went around Facebook yesterday. They had a big shindig. The governor of West Virginia, Jim Justice, owns the Greenbrier Resort down in Lewisburg. And, buddy, they had themselves a good old-fashioned hootenanny down there at the Greenbrier. And there was no social distancing and very little masks. And people are going, you shut down sports, but your place is – look to be booming. So, yeah. So, yeah, the unabashed hypocrisy of politicians has been a lot of fun to watch this year. We got a great comment here. Let me throw this up here. Tyler Nickham, if I can ask, as an owner-operator, were you willing to go below your operating costs to make do, besides getting out of non-busy load lanes? Well, that's kind of the great thing. Our operating cost is low, so we didn't have to go below it. Now, we went below a bunch of other people's operating costs, you know, but we didn't have to go, I don't know, I mean, maybe on a single load, you know, you might say this is lower than, but, you know, especially if a load canceled, you know, we still liked having 2 or 3, 4 loads lined up. And if one in the middle falls apart, then it's either deadhead or make something. You know, and so we go look for 90 cents a mile or $1 a mile just to see if there's anything we could put in the trailer to make up for that deadhead. But we did some deadheading, you know, in that time.
Well, there's 2 ways of looking at this. One is on an individual load basis, like you said there. I mean, our strategy is we move the truck. Okay, now we don't have a problem taking it's really, first of all, you have to understand, it's really, really, really hard for us to take an under cost load. You know, I mean, it hardly ever happens. We'll take an under desired quota load, you know, just to keep moving or to, like Chris said, overcome a canceled load or whatever. But on a bigger scale, as a strategy or as a policy, do we run under cost? That's the whole purpose of doing the way we do it. Is our costs are minimal. You know, our equipment cost is nothing. Okay, and if you buy it the way we tell you to buy it, you have no payment, so you have no equipment cost. Our maintenance cost is very, very low because of the modifications that we do in our maintenance program, and the type of trucks that we buy and the engines that we run. Our fuel cost is low because we buy fuel correctly. We get, you know, a better than average fuel mileage on our truck. So everything we do is to keep our costs low for this very reason. Because when you're looking at the load board and you start filtering out loads based on your price, we can still look up and have 20 or 30,000 loads on the board where someone has a high operating cost, even if they know their cost per mile, which I'm going to tell you that 95% of people in the owner-operators do not know that. Or don't really know it. They say they do, but they have no clue what it really is. Mm-hmm. They don't even know whether they can pull that load or not profitably. So I mean, you hit on a very, very good thing there. And 2 things I would tell you is that, you know, don't do business like normal. Be a lunatic, and you don't have to worry about that. And number 2, know your cost per mile. And if you know that, then you know whether or not you can take that load or not, and or you can look at it, well, if I take this load for $1 a mile, I'm not making any money, but it gets me to a load that's going to pay me $5 a mile, hell yeah, we're going to take it, you know. Now,
Right.
We're not going to take it for, you know, 900 miles. We're going to take it for 250 or 300, whatever we have to do to get on regular freight. But yeah, on a one-off situation, yes, we first of all, you got to become a good enough load planner to not put yourself in that situation. I got a guy who lives in Florida, okay? So to get him home for Christmas, I have to take a load to Florida. Now, I would normally not do that because that puts me in the situation you're talking about. Now, fortunately, the rates right now, we got him out tomorrow at $2.10, 20 cents a mile, something like that.
Yeah.
But everything else we're doing right now is $3 a mile, and up. So it's still less than what we would like to have. But we knew that going in. Now that he's not going to be going back home for a while, we won't be putting him in Florida. We take Florida off our map. We don't even go there. There's places we just stay away from because we know that the rates coming out of there are lower than what we want to haul for. So we don't put ourselves in that situation, if that makes sense to you. So
Yeah.
so there's 2 or 3 different concepts that you're hitting on. And one of them is don't get in that situation. But if you do, the worst thing you can do is sit there. I know the guys at the liar's counter are going to go, oh, I don't load my truck for less than $8 a mile, and I'm going to sit here until I get one. Well, that's fine, okay, except that 3 days from now, you're still going to be sitting there because you didn't get that load, and now you can never make that time back up. You can never make that back up. So you go ahead and you put it in the wind, and of course, then the next thing is, well, I'll just fucking deadhead. I'm not even going to look for a load because I'm not hauling that cheap freight. So now you're going to come out of there with you paying the fuel instead of taking a load that would cover your fuel. So all these make a whole lot of sense if you're a moron, but if you've got any sense, you understand that that's just really stupid thing to do.
Yeah. Well, it's I found that because we have, especially through this fleet thing, it's something I didn't really think about when I was a solo. I had direct customer stuff, when I was by myself, but we've made so many relationships now, just because of the numbers. When you got 5 and 7 and 8 and 9 trucks and you're booking 5 loads a week, so you end up booking 35, 40 loads, you end up calling a lot of the same people, and it got to where when it was down, that contract stuff, the rate wasn't affected. And so I could just go ahead and call an agent and say, hey, what do you got? My truck is here. And that made a big difference because sometimes one customer load would save the week, plus the pandemic pay that Landstar was given. It made it to where the drivers could survive, because if anybody was going to eat a loss, it really wasn't the driver. The driver was still getting paid. It was more difficult on the company, but it wasn't as difficult on the drivers. Hell, we hired 2 drivers. What, 1st of March or 1st of April?
1st of April.
First
well,
of
we
April.
hired one in February, and then we hired 2 more in April. 1st of April.
And I mean, they came in, and I said, "Well, here's the upside of this. You're about to see it at its absolute worst,
Right?
Right? And they did, and I'm sure they're like, the hell did I get myself into? But you got the. I mean, if you're still kicking after 2020, you've seen it about as bad as it can get, and if you made it through. You've probably learned some lessons about things that you need to do going forward, especially now that the rates are really good. Now is the time to get up on that horse and ride. But it's given us a lot of perspective and ways, just kind of different ways of looking at things. And develop new relationships with maintenance. We've got a new shop we're working with that we really like. So it's, I can't, there's some things in 2020 I'd rather not have to deal with, but, I can't see it any, I can't see it any different. Let's see. Well, we got another comment here. Let's see. Are all your drivers company drivers or part owner operator with you and sharing percentage if they bought a truck and came to work? Well, all of our drivers are company drivers. They're paid 25% of gross line haul off the freight bill. We really here, I mean, we could lease a truck to a driver, like sell them a truck, and but that that would be kind of the end of the program. Our program is that you come here and you get to see behind the curtain and understand how Landstar works. Because what you have to understand is this is not easy, and you cannot be a company driver and come here because you've had somebody doing all this stuff, or they've done all the load planning for you, they've done all the dispatching for you, and you have to come here. Now you're the driver, the load planner, the dispatcher, the maintenance coordinator, and it's a shock to a lot of people that they really struggle with not understand, because they've never been exposed to that back office stuff, and now they are that. And so this is an opportunity for someone to come here and experience it with no personal financial risk. You're going to get paid, as long as the truck's moving, you're getting paid. And so, and matter of fact, we had a driver, our best driver, had a catastrophic breakdown with one of the trucks, and guy's a top money maker. He's got great customer relationships, but it spooked him. And he was like, you know what? Maybe being an owner operator is not for me. And he decided to leave. And then he had a problem with a stupid drug clearinghouse thing, and he couldn't get qualified for the next job. And Larry was able to get him requalified, so he was out for a couple of weeks, and now he's back. And he told me, he was like...
He was out for 1 week.
1 week, that's right.
I got him back on Thursday, left on Friday.
And
opposite. Left on Thursday, got him back following Friday.
Yeah. But think about that. Here he was able to come and experience everything there is to experience at Landstar. The good, bad, the ugly. Look at his numbers. He's top earner. But he was able to say, maybe this isn't for me. Well, that's a whole lot easier to do when you don't have a truck payment and you don't own a piece of equipment. And so, now he's back, and I love the fact that he's back, because, he's just number one, but that's why we do this. We do this so that someone can come here and first just understand, can you operate in this system? Can you be that guy that is able to be that self-starter, and go make relationships and put all the loads together and do the trip planning, because there's a lot of moving parts. And if you buy a truck and you've got a $2,500 a month truck payment, and then you come here and find out, oh wow, this sucks, I hate this. I was talking to a cousin of mine that was at Landstar. Came here with a paid for truck, stayed, 18 months, 2 years, and he was like, I don't like this, and he sold the truck, and and I can't fault him for that. And I also don't call that a failure. He didn't lose any money while he's here. He just didn't like the networking. He didn't like calling and booking loads. Well, that's a whole lot easier to find out once you've been here for a little while.
Well, we talk about this all the time, and Tyler, I can kind of tell that you're probably a new listener, because our whole program is based on the fact that we don't offer, we're not looking for people to come here and become drivers. This is a year and a half program where you come and you find out whether or not you want to become an owner operator, and we put you on that path and show you how to do it where you don't become one of the 9 out of 10 who fail. But going back to something that you said there, Chris, people think that decision to buy their own truck, they're used, and we talk about this extensively with our guys, but they have been driving a truck for a year, 2 years. We've got guys that want to come here that have been driving for 20 years, okay? But they know their job. They know what the job of company driver is, okay? And they just assume that when they go buy a truck, that's going to solve all the negative things that they don't like about their job. The big things are choosing my own loads, making my own decisions, not having to have this dispatcher. Those are usually the things that, that incentivize them to think about making that decision. But what we talk about here all the time is that making a decision about the truck, that's just that's the tip of the iceberg. Because when you buy the truck, now you go from being an employee to an employer. You're self-employed now. And all of these this huge wake is now behind the boat that you didn't even think about and you have no experience doing, because most people have never booked a load in life. They've never worked with a broker or an agent. They've never been involved with compliance. They've never been involved with maintenance. All the things that they have to do now because their name is on the side of the truck, they're responsible for. Well, that's the part that they don't. And by the way, while you're doing all that, you still got to haul freight because you got to make money. And so that's what basically overwhelms people, and they can't function in it. And so it's just then the toilet starts twirling, and it's just a matter of how much money you came in with before it finally flushes it all the way out. And when it does that, it usually is a financial catastrophic event, because they just don't take the trucks back without some sort of a financial hit to you, even if it's a quote walk away lease. Mm-hmm. Read how that works, okay? So it's a huge decision. That's what we're trying to do here, is make people stop and think about everything that they need to know to not be. There's a reason why 9 out of 10 people who try this for the first time fail. There's a reason for that. Okay, that's not because they were stupid or weren't good company drivers. They just didn't understand that the skill set that takes to function successfully in this business, they don't have those yet. Some do, rare, some do, and some people get lucky. A stopped clock is right twice a day. So some people get lucky and they get through it, but most people are not going to get through it the first time successfully, and we're just trying to change that. We're trying to think about this. Think about all these things that we're, and the biggest thing we're trying to make you understand is that don't do things that increase your risk. Borrowing money to buy a truck increases your risk hugely, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Buying the wrong truck increases your risk hugely. Coming in undercapitalized increases your risk hugely. Not understanding how to buy fuel and tires and keep your costs down, like Tyler asked about a while ago. If you can't keep your cost per mile down where you can haul freight, that affects you hugely. So we're just trying to instead of encouraging you to do this blindly, we're trying to make you stop and take a breath and do it the right way, and in our opinion, the right way is to not do any of those things we just said. Certainly don't sign a lease purchase. That's the single most thing that you could do that you might as well just pull a gun out and shoot yourself, okay? It'll be a quicker result. But the finality will be the same, okay? So, but that's what we're doing here, is we're just letting you come here and as Chris said, peek behind the curtain to see all this works while you drive our truck. And by the way, we're going to help do all this stuff for you. We don't throw all this at you from day one.
Right.
We feed it to you as you can handle it, but you get to see it. And like you said, one of our best guy, he's like, I just don't know that, I thought this is what I wanted to do. But after going through this for a year, I don't really think that that's the best thing for me and my family right now. Well, that's not a failure by any means. I mean, for that, that's a win, because now he knows that that's not what he wants to do at this point in time in his life. He didn't have to go through a bankruptcy or go buy a truck and fail and do all the all the things that he'd have to undo to get out of it. And now he's perfectly content to just drive for a while, and he's making a way above average income here, and so but that's fine. That's fine. But that's what we're trying to do here, is just to make you stop and think. Don't do it like everybody else does. Don't go borrow money and buy a truck. It's I mean, you might get lucky. Maybe 2021 will be like 2019 and you make money whether you try or not. But maybe it's not.
Right.
And are you willing to take that chance? Are you willing to bet that are you willing to bet that 2021 is going to be different than 2020? I don't know. I mean,
all right, we got a few more
I
comments
hope
here.
it isn't, but
Chris Laird, do you provide the rate con to your company drivers? Yes. We do.
Everything's transparent.
Because everything here is done with email. There's no Qualcomm. I mean, there's a Qualcomm in the truck for ELD, but all communication with the agents goes through email. And because remember, we're teaching you through experience how to work the system and how to get paid. And
let me say this: we do it at Landstar because that's the only place we can find that allows us to do our business the way we want to do it. What we teach you here, although you will learn how to operate in the Landstar system, it doesn't have to be done at Landstar.
Yeah.
It's just that's where we like to be because it's the best place for us to be able to have this mentoring fleet and run business the way we want to do it. And we really like Landstar. As much as we badmouth them, it still is the best company that we can find out there to lease trucks to.
So Mark, I'm gonna answer a bunch of questions here that I've seen Mark comment on other videos. I think if I got this right, Mark's in Philly. Been driving to local 25 years, the same company, want to be my own boss. I'm researching becoming an owner operator. Well, you being your own boss is going to be the hardest, most evil sumbitch you've ever worked for. So just understand that. There's one caveat here. In a situation like this, Landstar requires 1 year of over-the-road experience. Now, if you're running 3 or 4 states, and that's local, to you. So if you're in Philly and you're running, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, you're probably going to be okay to get qualified. And I think, if I remember right, Mark had asked about like running containers. There's a little bit of that scattered about here and there, mainly near port towns that I have seen some, but it's very, very rare. But what I always like to highlight with Landstar is we pull vans because vans is easy, right? It's general freight, nothing specialized. You can come here and pull a van and make an adequate living as both a company driver and an owner-operator. But then you have access to all the opportunities, stuff that we just don't mess with. We certainly could, but what we're trying to keep the trailer loaded, give people the opportunity to learn the system, and then once they're on their own, they can go specialize a van, they can specialize a flatbed. I've even seen a reefer here and there. There are specific opportunities available once you have built the network and the customer base, and then you can look around and say, well, here's an opportunity. I'll go outfit my trailer this way, and then I can go do that freight. But the thing about Landstar is coming here and learning how to be an owner-operator in a very good environment. I had a truck leased to Anderson Trucking Service when I first bought it. I had leased a truck from them, and then I bought a truck and leased it on there. And I can't say a bad thing about Anderson Trucking Service. But when I left there to go to Landstar, and they was like, why are you leaving? And I'm like, because, guys, this is not the best environment for an owner-operator. Landstar is. Landstar has every possible tool available to you to get started. Now, if you want to come and work for Blue Ribbon and learn the system and then buy a truck and lease it on the Landstar and do that for a year or two, then you've got all kinds of different ways you can go. Get your own authority, go lease to a different, whatever it is. But this is the place where you can come and learn all that necessary stuff in an environment that was made for that. So you got anything you want to add?
Well,
to that?
just think of it as learning the fundamentals here. It's one thing to branch off in some specialized thing, and that may work out, but it may not work out. The other thing is you can decide you want to do that, but until you develop that relationship, I mean, it'd be one thing to say, okay, I'm going to go do this. Okay, fill in what that is. Flatbed, double drop, whatever specialized freight you want to do. You just don't decide to go do that. You've got to build those relationships. You've got to find out who's going to give you that freight. You've got to get the qualifications. You've got to understand how that area of the business works. And look, there's a lot of flatbed guys right now pulling van. Okay, so we teach you for the fundamentals. Okay, dry van is the fundamental. All right, there's always going to be dry van freight. You may branch off and do AA and E and whatever. That's fine, but our belief is you come here, you learn the fundamentals first, because that way you can always fall back to it in case your endeavor doesn't work out that you decide you want to get into. Because those little niches, there's dry van freight everywhere. That niche freight, you have to sort of learn how to get that freight. And people that haven't aren't necessarily going to just tell you how they got it, So you got to understand that you have to earn that. You have to develop that relationship before you can go there. So that's why we do. That's why we do it this way. Is that you learn. The system works no matter what kind of freight you're hauling. It all works. So this way you understand the fundamentals. Okay, if you can do dry van, you can, as long as you can find the business, you can do any of the other things as well. Okay, but that's just whether or not you're willing to put in the time and effort to find that business, because it's out there, but it's not going to come knock on your door. You're going to have to go find it, And the best way to find a Landstar is find someone who's doing that and develop a friendship, and they may not give you all their secrets, but they'll probably give you some direction to go to,
Yeah.
But that's, look, Landstar is just the free market. It's just everybody here has the opportunity, but nobody here has guaranteed results. The opportunity is guaranteed. The results are not. So that's.
White line transportation. Well, I got on an 80s hairband kick the other day and listened to a bunch of white line. What would be a good average gross week for a blue ribbon truck? Well, there's three answers to that because there's three possibilities. Gross revenue, like when we talk about $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, we're talking about total revenue before any percentages are taken. Revenue to the truck is probably going to be somewhere between $4,500 and $5,500 to the truck. And if you're talking about driver pay based on the percentage, the driver's going to be anywhere from probably $18 to $2,200 a week in this market. So that's kind of the three answers, because I'm not exactly sure which one of those you're talking about. But, if we can do, $8,000 a week gross money, everything else works itself out. The truck gets paid, the driver gets paid, and there's money left over.
Well, and you got to understand what that gross, people use these terms, and gross revenue is the amount of money that the truck generates in this situation for Landstar. Okay, now you may or may not understand that, but we have a video about this, about how Landstar takes 35% of our money. Okay, so the gross revenue is before that. Okay, so then the net revenue to the truck is that gross revenue minus 35%. Okay, and then the net revenue to me as Blue Ribbon is that number now minus 35 minus the driver's pay. Then my expenses come out of that, and the net profit is what's left over. So let's just use the right terminology. But when you say average gross week, well, gross revenue is the money that the truck generated, in this case, for Landstar. So, and right now that's anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a week. So
I was muted.
Well.
During the 1 to 2 year company driver time learning phase before becoming owner-operator, are they provided medical insurance? No. I'm going to let you take that one because you've got a really good explanation for this.
Well, here's this. First of all, we're a very small company. Medical insurance is expensive. And, I guess we could do it. We could not pay you as much as we pay you and then pay you in medical insurance, but to me, that's not transparent. And you have to understand what we're doing here is we're teaching you how to quit being an employee and start becoming an employer. okay? When you are the boss, when you own the company, when it's your business, there's no benefits there. The benefits are you. So it makes no sense for us to come in here and give you benefits, when we're trying to teach you how to become an employer. So no, we don't provide that. We pay you the top dollar we can afford to pay you, and then if you need medical insurance, that's just something you need to do. I also don't buy your groceries. I don't pay your car payment. I don't do anything other. That's on you. You're coming here to learn how to be a business person and how to go into business, and we're paying you as a percentage of what the revenue is that is fair for your work with us. We give you a really, really good job for a couple of years while you're learning. And by the way, the learning, as long as you stay here for more than 15 months, is free. And so that's the benefit. Okay. Now we will give you a paid vacation because I can do that. And, but that's about it. So, I mean, again, we got to understand, we're not looking for employees here. We're not looking for long-term drivers. We're not a trucking company. We're here to train you how to become an owner-operator and run your own business, and then hopefully you'll be so successful that you can buy your own insurance without somebody having to buy it for you. That's the whole reason for going into business. The reason I like being in business myself is because I can then control everything, all right? And that's why a lot of people think they want to be in business, but then they lose their medical insurance, and then they lose this, and then they lose that. All these guarantees that you're given as an employee, those all go away. And people come to Landstar all the time looking for those. What is Landstar going to do this? No, Landstar's not going to do that. You should have stayed at your other fleet if you wanted that. Landstar's just going to give you a load board and a password. That's it. Okay. And so it's up to you.
And all the other services that Landstar provide are the trade.
You're paying for that.
You're exchanging a portion of the revenue for the things that they provide you.
It's a mentality. You're to become successful in business, you have to escape the employee mentality, and you have to develop the employer mentality. The small business person, the entrepreneur, the capitalist. Those all hats. And again, this is why a lot of people don't understand why this is such a big decision, because you're not just buying a truck and doing the job that you're doing today in a truck that you own. You're doing the job for an employer that's you now, not whoever you were doing before. And all those things are provided by you now, not that person. You're breaking those bonds. You're throwing the chains away. You're getting away from the tit. And now it's just you. You had to provide all that. That's why 9 out of 10 people fail doing it. It's not the decision to buy the truck, although that's the biggest mistake they make. It's, do you want to become an employer? Do you want to become a business owner? The guy before, you want that freedom, okay? Okay, well, here's what comes with that freedom. All this responsibility, all this accountability. And it's all on you now, nobody else. You're not going to come to Landstar and get it from them. Many, many people make that mistake. They come to Landstar and they go, well, I'm working for Landstar. No, you're not. You're working with Landstar. You're a business doing a business with Landstar. You're not. You work for you, okay? All we're doing is trying to illustrate this to you and give you a chance to gradually get to it over a year and a half, 2 years, without being thrown to the wolves and having to answer all these questions yourself on day one. Does that make sense?
Yep. Got another good one from Tom. Your IFTA segment changed my perspective, and I went and discussed that with my owner-operator buddy, and he and I had a day-long argument about that. Listen. Bless your heart.
Did you video it? Can we watch it?
Yeah, because, man, people will be passionately wrong about IFTA. And
stupidly wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you just have to say bless your heart, okay, and walk away, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the most fought about, and as far as I'm concerned, easiest thing to understand. But people just fight to the death. It's crazy.
Well, it's because they don't want to be confused with the truth, okay, and the facts. I know how this works. Please don't confuse me, okay? It's a lot like politics, okay?
Yeah. Mark says, I joined a free load board just for research. What's your take on running short haul? Seems like there's a lot of short haul opportunities and the rate looks good. Well, this is kind of the vocabulary there. I mean, running short haul. What's it mean? It probably means 5 different things to 5 different people. If you're wanting to stay close to home, then, I'm sure, you could do that, what's called short haul, so you're looking at, 300 or 400 miles or, but again, what does short haul mean? Does it mean 50 miles? Does it mean 300 miles? Does it mean, I go out and back? I don't know. It's, what we do is we set a minimum gross number. Right now it's $7,000, $1,400 a day, 5 loads. And we book whatever makes that happen. Now with the rates the way they are, when like back in March, we had to drop it down to about 6,000 and $1,250 a day, and it was difficult, But once we got into the better rates, we kind of upped the minimum, and we're all hitting the minimum, easily doing 7,500 to 9,500. So we don't have a problem hitting the minimum, but that's kind of the great thing about it. You figure out what your cost is. You figure out how much money you need, and you got and get it. However, long haul, short haul, OTR, doesn't really matter as long as you can hit those numbers.
Here's would be my reply to that. I understand the long haul thing. I mean, I understand that it's nice not to have to bump a dock every day, to be able just to drive. But here's the problem. I called it holding costs. Okay, the problem with long haul is that if it doesn't meet your daily revenue quota, you can't afford to take it. Okay, in our case, if it doesn't add up to $1,400 a day for however many days it takes you to haul it, we're not going to touch it because we can do better. We know we can do $1,400 a day. We could probably do way more than that. We're doing a couple $1,000s a day in most cases. Okay. Why would I want to get on a load that's going to take me 3 or 4 days and only pay half of that? So it just depends on your objective. If you're going to go in business and you want to maximize income, I don't think long haul's necessarily. Now, if you're a team, that's probably a different story. But in normal general freight for a solo driver, that's trying to maximize income, I don't think that's going to be the way to go. Now, again, I can't speak to specialized. I know a lot of people at Landstar make a lot of money going one way hauling oversized freight, but that's not everybody, and that's probably not people getting ready to. We cater to people, no one. So if that's what you want to make, I guess you could probably do whatever you want to. But we're teaching our guys to make $150,000 to $200,000 a year in their own truck. And you're not going to do that if you're not maxing your daily revenue quotas. And so that's what we're teaching here. So that would probably knock most of the long haul stuff out.
Yeah. IFTA has caused more arguments than Budweiser.
You're right.
That'll preach right there. I'm watching all the comments, and there's a bunch of little side conversations going in here. I'm going to put this up here just in case where'd it go? I just lost it. From Tyler, because I want to call Landstar and find out about this. It says, highly interested in coming to you to learn being an owner-operator, which is what I want to do. Problem is the hazmat endorsement requirement, as I'm deaf. I'm a 2-year driver trainer, van, reefer, and blanket wrap specialist. Can a deaf driver have success in that area? I don't have a clue. I know that there are different kind of waivers and stuff, but I don't know, and that's something I'm gonna look into because I have no idea.
Why would hazmat, if you could get a waiver for everything else, why would hazmat not be waived as well? I don't. What about hazmat requires you to hear?
Well,
Listen, I know a lot of drivers that can hear but don't hear, okay?
Right.
You probably hear better than most drivers I deal with, all right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't know the answer. We can find out for you, and we will. We'll look into that. I do know that there's no waiver for you not to come. You can't come to Landstar and not be hazmat.
Yeah.
Whether or not we can get you hazmat as a deaf person, that's something we'll have to look into. So,
It says Sharon. Hey Larry, Chris. This is Sharon. I guess Sharon. Here, I spoke to Larry in December. I want to know if you guys are expanding your fleet in 21 since you guys filled all the business. Oh yeah, we have trucks.
We've probably got one right now. We've
Yeah.
probably got one, maybe two. We've probably got one or two that we could have ready in the next couple of months. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now understand it's a 30-day process to get you qualified. So
Yeah.
if you're wanting to do this, don't wait until we have the opening, because then you're going to be behind. So if you think you want to do this, what you need to do is go ahead and go on our website and fill out that little, it's not really an application. What do you call it, Chris?
Form. Just fill out a form. Yeah.
And we'll reach out to you, and then we'll need to get the process started with you qualifying at Landstar. And all that just is preliminary, okay? Because none of that obligates you, but if we don't get that out of the way, it's 30 days between the time you start that process and the time we can have you on board. So, but yes, we do have one or maybe even two trucks available in the next couple of months. Actually, we may have more than that, because we've got this program now where we're running other owner-operators' trucks that can't keep drivers. And so we've kind of got some interest in other guys taking some of their trucks and us around them. So haven't really pursued that because we hadn't needed it. But if we fill up what we got, we can definitely pursue that.
So White Line says, I'll be honest with you guys, my operating cost is 95 cents a mile. What is your honest opinion on my overhead? It doesn't seem unreasonable. Yeah. I mean, if that's everything, here's my question would be, what of that 95 can you improve? Can you get better tires? Can you get better fuel mileage? Is there things that you can do? How can you bring that down? It doesn't matter if it's $1.95 or if it's 95. Are there things that you can do to bring that cost down? But
no,
I don't.
95 cents is respectable, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the best you can do. I mean, it may be. I don't know, but I'd have to look into the numbers. But I mean, like, are you maximizing your fuel, savings? I mean, are you doing everything you can to lower that? Because I mean, just because you're getting good doesn't mean you quit trying. And I would have to just see more in detail. But yeah, that's certainly respectable.
When I was driving my truck, I was under $1.
Yeah.
And I was paying out $1 and I was making $1.
Yeah.
Andrea, just retired from law enforcement, looking to get my CDL. Looked up Transport America, but they do not provide the CDL training. I may go to the Prime route to get my year, unless you can suggest a different option.
Can I suggest a different option?
Well, there may not be an issue with Prime. Just do not lease a truck. Period.
Well, and I'm going to go one more. If you retire from law enforcement, I'm assuming that money is not your issue. Take the money out of your pocket and go to a neutral, independent, certified, qualified CDL training course. That way you're not obligated to any of these people, okay? I love Transport America. I started out there. And I get it, they don't do the training, but it's a great company to go to, very, very good company to go to. But I do not recommend you do anybody's CDL training that is a trucking company, okay? Because you're obligated to them. I would rather see you pull the $6,000 out of your pocket, go pay, get it done, and then that way you can take your skills wherever you want to take them. And it's kind of like I feel about cell phones, okay? I don't do cell phone contracts, all right? I don't want to be obligated to anybody for 2 years. I'll go buy my phone at the Apple store and I'll take it where the hell I want to. I feel the same way about this, okay? Don't obligate yourself. Don't keep your options open. And I would encourage you to do it, but don't do it this way. So, and you're going to have a year experience. You're going to listen. If you're retired from law enforcement, you're going to have to put a lot of blinders on and take a lot of legal opioids to get through this first year, okay? But just grit your teeth and get through it. Keep your nose clean. Get 1 year in, preferably at the same place. And Transport America would be a great place, I'm going to tell you. They're a really, really, really good company to start out at, and then after a year, get a hold of us, and we'll have you come here, and you'll be at Landstar in a little bit. So
The only thing I'll add to that is it just doesn't matter. You can go anywhere. Swift, Schneider, Prime, whoever. I agree with Larry. Go pay for the school. Find one close to you. That's got some. Back when I did it in '97, I mean, there was no internet to speak of. There was no ratings and reviews. I answered an ad in a newspaper and drove to Nashville, and fortunately, it was a decent school. But research the school, find a school that's the cheapest you can get it, pay for it. Now you've got a CDL. Companies will beat your door down because they're still screaming about this driver shortage, like they have been for 25 years. But here's what I'm gonna tell you. You kind of got to grow a pair when it comes to going to the company. So if you choose a company and you get there and they put you with a trainer that sucks, do not stay in that truck. Call that company and say, hey, this person is an idiot. They're not teaching me anything. I need a new trainer. Don't worry about hurting anybody's feelings because you're there to learn. And if you get some sapsucker that just wants to get paid all those extra miles for being a trainer and don't actually train people, tell them to kiss your ass and go get somebody else. And then learn that system. They all have the basic same system. Most of them use the same software for the transportation management system. But just do whatever it is they want you to do that will utilize your time as much as you can. And it just doesn't matter. It just one company to the next,
Well,
So
let me add to that, though, Andrew.
Okay.
Whatever you do, there's very few things in the world you can make a statement saying never, never, never. This is one of them. No matter where you go, do not under any circumstances let them talk you into leasing a truck from them.
Absolutely
Never.
not.
Period. Do not. Run. Okay? That is not, and that's my concern about some of the ones we talked about here, is they're in business to lease trucks, And the one you mentioned is a really, really, really big one. Okay, so just avoid that at all costs. Do not let them talk you into leasing a truck, no matter how attractive they make it. Listen, you're in law enforcement. You're a smart enough person to read a contract. Read all 58 pages of it, or take it to your attorney. And if he lets you sign that, get a new attorney. Okay, so.
And the best salesmen that these companies have aren't the companies themselves. It's these idiot drivers,
Right.
That do it and say, "Oh well, I mean, listen. Here I had been an owner operator at Landstar, and basically had a nervous breakdown and broke the truck at the same time, and went and drove for Swift for 30 days. Right. So I'm sitting out at Little America in Flagstaff on the weekend doing a restart, and I walk inside and I talk to this trainer that was a lease operator at Swift. And I start asking basic questions, because I'm just curious. And I'm like, well, what about fuel surcharge? And asking stuff that I already knew what it was. Dude, this guy didn't have a clue. And the fuel surcharge was like 9 cents a mile. I'm going, what? I mean, because I knew that at that time, the fuel surcharge that the customers were paying was like 40-some cents, and this poor sucker's getting like 9 or 10 or 11 cents a mile fuel surcharge and thinks he's doing something. And I thought, Jesus, help.
Andrew, let me point out one more thing, and I want to thank Tyler for reminding me of this. But listen, the company that you choose to train with, find out whether or not they dispatch that truck under training as a solo or as a team. Do not train with a company that dispatches you as a team while you're being trained. Okay, that is another big red flag to me, and I know for a fact that Transport America does not do that. They dispatch a team with a trainee in it as a solo, and both drivers have to be in both seats at all times. You do not want to be in a training situation where your trainer's in the bunk and you're driving the truck.
I saw
Ask questions. Be careful.
I saw a comment here about WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Sounds like that I would look into stuff like that. There are programs and grants and all that kind of stuff that may cover part of the cost, or get you some kind of scholarship, or just Google search it. But I agree with Larry. You just don't want to be beholden to a company, because if it just, I wouldn't do it.
Ask questions. Be careful. And the biggest question to ask is why. Why?
Yeah.
And just listen. And understand that recruiters are a lot like car salesmen. If their lips are moving, they're probably lying to you. Okay, so
Yeah. Well, the old joke is how many trucking recruiters does it take to screw in a light bulb? The answer is none. They talk it into screwing itself. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that, Andrew. Stay in touch. Let us know what you end up doing. I'd like to hear what you do. So, good luck.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I never would have dreamed, until we hired a driver recently.
Oh gosh.
That basically didn't know how to read a map, and a sharp guy,
Yeah.
But he was like, "Well, no, we didn't talk about maps." And so coming from 1997, when there was no GPS, and I had a paper map, and I had an exit guide that I found in a truck stop, which was just awesome because it told me what was off every exit. But I couldn't believe that. I just assumed, which we know what happens when you assume. I just assumed that they were still doing the fundamentals of driving, but no, here's a GPS and a Qualcomm, and shut up, slave, and do what you're told. And because listen, you come here, the trip planning will put you down. If you can't put all these loads together and make them fit and make them work, that's I don't know. It can be a nightmare, absolute nightmare, because utilization is the key to success. And then the recovery. When something goes wrong, you have to turn on a dime. I'm thinking about this story. I had a driver, had a load cancel. Agent called me, said the load canceled. All right. I know the driver's heading north on 83 up through Pennsylvania. So I jump on the board. I find another load. I call the driver. I said, "Where you at?" He said, "I'm in York." I said, "What mile marker?" And he told me. I said, "Get off the next exit." And he was like, "What?" I said, "Get off the next exit. You're getting on 30 East. Your load canceled. I got you another load." I caught him 2 miles before the exit, and I'm like, "Forget what you did before, because that load's gone. Now get on 30 East. You're going to Philadelphia." Because it can happen that fast, and you got to be able to recover. And so I just can't believe these companies are not teaching this stuff. It's crazy.
I just thought about something, Andrea. I don't know if you're a long-time listener, but episode 49 and 50 are my story of how I got started, and I got started at Transport America. So it might be worth you to go back and listen to 49 and 50. I don't think they're video. I think they're just audio. But I go into great detail about my beginnings at Transport America.
So I see this fog line software. I have no idea what this is, so I can't comment on
I've
fog
seen
line
it.
software. I have no idea what it is.
It's a management tool that a guy developed for BCOs. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. I don't use it. I'm more accomplished in bookkeeping and accounting than I guess most. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it by all means.
Yeah.
There is a sample, a trial or something you can get and look at it. It's designed specifically for the Landstar system. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just there's nothing. It underutilizes my situation. It would be difficult for me to use it. So.
I used profit gauges by Kevin. I used that when I was.
This is more than an accounting system. No, it keeps up with a lot of the other things at Landstar, all the other things. I have nothing bad to say about it. I don't need it. I don't use it. But I mean, look into it. I don't know.
Let's see. So another comment here. Team driving. What do you think of team driving here at Landstar? I have done team at Landstar. My best friend Zeke got in a truck with me back in 2016, and didn't last long. He had a family situation. He had to get out of the truck. It goes back to what we were talking about before. There's the basic running freight, pulling a van, just doing kind of the base level stuff, right? But if you go listen to our interview with Judy Byerly, she talks about the really specialized opportunities that are available to teams here. But it's not a traditional, I ran team at Schneider and I ran team at U.S. Express, and, you run your 600 miles and your driver runs 600 miles and you run 600 miles and your team driver, you're looking for miles. You want 5, 6, 7,000 miles a week, and because you're getting paid on a mile. But it's different here. It's obviously it's still revenue based. It's, we're a team. We need to make 1.5 times what a solo does minimum, in order for it to work out. And especially, you need all the money going to the same house. But, a lot of these team situations at Landstar is very, very, very customer service oriented. It may be sitting around and all of a sudden somebody has a need, that, hey, the world is on fire. I need this load to go right now, and I'm willing to pay anything, and so the money opportunities for a really good dedicated team are just fantastic. But again, it comes back to coming in, learning the system, pulling general freight, doing whatever you can do, and then you expose yourself to other opportunities. So, you can do just about anything here.
Ask me my opinion about team.
I know your opinion on team. You don't like.
First of all, if you're not a couple or a unit or whatever, it's pretty hard to stay in a 6-foot square cell with somebody you don't know really, really well, 24/7, 365. And teams don't usually. They have an average life of about 3 months, and then you're looking for another team member, and I don't know. It's I couldn't do it. Chris did it for a while, but
I did it a few weeks ago, and I'm still recovering.
There you go.
Had a driver broke down, and he had just had 10 or 12 days before he had to go home for home time, and I'm like, well, hey, let's just jump in the truck with me. Oh, I'm too old for that, because that was that was rough. I'm still not over it. Okay, another. Gregory Thomas, how do you consistently get 9,000 revenue every week? We look for loads that pay $1,400 a day. We try to, we book loads that pay $1,800 a day, or $2,200 a day, or $3,500 a day, and
it's a lot of work. That's what I do. I don't drive a truck. I dispatch drivers. My drivers, and so we do it through a lot of work. I watch the load board all the time. We have relationships with lots of agents, and we have regular freight that we do that. We know that if I get a load to here, I've got an agent I can get a load from there. I mean, I've been here since 2012, so it's 9 years of experience, and now we're up to 9 trucks. So, I get a lot of practice, at doing it. But it's not easy, And then the other thing is to do what we do, you have to stack loads. You cannot get this revenue and do one load at a time. It will never happen. And the farther out the loads are, the easier are to book. But they also are easier for them to cancel. So you got to be able to jump in there and fix it when it happens, and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So that's the other thing you have to do is we book out usually 7 to 10 days in advance, And yes, loads cancel, okay? I'm not going to sit here and tell you they don't. 1 or 2 loads that cancel every week. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the tour that I booked just goes, we throw it out. We just fix it. We find something to fill in where it happened, and we recover that as soon as possible. And the ability to do that and the skill set it takes to do that is something that you just have to acquire, It's a problem-solving situation. We pride ourselves on being expert problem solvers. We try to teach our drivers to become expert problem solvers. That's just a problem. It has to be solved. And so,
now, getting $9,000 a week, March, April, and May in the middle of a pandemic,
didn't happen.
didn't happen.
We were lucky to get $6,000 a week. We went $4,500 to $6,000 a week from March, April, May.
Yeah.
But we could make money at that. So if we made money at that, imagine what we're making at $9,000 a week.
Yeah. Well,
so you talk about, well, I don't, I can still make this, but look, you do this. You're doing this for the money. I'm sure. I mean, I look. If I didn't get paid, if the money stopped tomorrow, I'm gone. I'm out. Okay, love you all, but I'm out. All right. So if you're going to do all this, why not make the maximum money? Okay. Right. So if you can lower your cost per mile to 95 cents a mile, like this guy did earlier than that, and you're doing $9,000 a week, you're making a buttload of money right now. Okay. Well, that doesn't mean you quit doing all your cost saving. That doesn't mean you quit working on. This is when you bank, because there's going to come a time when you're not going to bank. It's just a very cyclical business. It happens all the time. You got chicken one day and you're going to have feathers the next day. And oh, by the way, all of you guys that tell me how you can't save any money, guess what? The government just gave you a $600 savings account. So instead of spending it tomorrow, go start a savings account and put that money in there. And now you've got to start, okay? At $25 a week, it'd take you 6 months to save that, and the government gave it to you last night. So no excuses about I don't have the money. All my money's obligated. You weren't getting this. You didn't know you were getting it. It's a gift. Put it away and save it. Quit spending it.
Yeah. David Jones, will you take on any more owner-operators within your organization?
We don't take on owner-operators.
We don't take on owner-operators. We have worked with owner-operators, to help them with dispatch and stuff like that, we've had people that have come and we'll help them get started, with dispatching for a fee. But, we are a company that owns trucks that has them leased to Landstar.
We do not have authority. We operate under Landstar's authority. Therefore, you can't bring a truck onto us. We have to bring it onto Landstar. Okay, so if you're going to bring a truck on, you might as well go straight to Landstar. Now, I will work with you on a consulting basis and a mentoring and a dispatching basis, fee-based. But you can't really come to Blue Ribbon and do that. You would have to go to Landstar, become a BCO, and then you could contract with me to coach you.
Yeah. Let me see. Let's see any more comments.
Well, I'm looking at this thing. He said any more operators. He didn't say owner operators. I'm assuming you mean that you're bringing a truck with you. With all that answer we just gave you is assuming that you're bringing a truck with you. If you're talking about coming here and operate one of our trucks, yes, we have 1 or 2 trucks available right now.
Oh, are you taking any more? I put a word in there that didn't even exist.
I noticed that.
Are you taking? Yes, we will. Yeah, so we certainly will.
Go to the website. There's a form there to fill out that will generate a response from us, and we'll reach out to you and set up a Zoom interview.
Yeah, go drive4blueribbon.com, fill out the form, click on Drive for Us, and there's a form there, and it's your name and information, and we'll set up and do a Zoom interview with you, and we'll talk about it. We go ahead and put our email addresses up here. I'm Chris at Blue Ribbon Logistics. He's Larry at Blue Ribbon Logistics, and so send us an email, reach out to us, and if you're interested in driving, fill out that form, and we've got a little process we can go through there with you. Let's see, any more comments?
if you're interested in coming here, though, do yourself a favor. Go back and listen to our podcast, starting at about 49. Okay, go as many as you can. All your questions will get answered in those first 10 or 12 podcasts. I promise you. And then you'll have a better idea of what we do here. If you're a new listener, now if you've been with us for the past year, then you probably are listening to that. But there's a little homework there you could do, and probably have a little better understanding of what we do here before you do that. So
I'm gonna put this up here because Tyler's that Chris, you finished that book you're working on. That wasn't me, that was him. So now that's a good motivator to get Larry working on his book to finish it.
Well, I'm working on it. Okay, I'll have to say though, this has been a tough year, and I've sort of slacked. Here was my deal. I was trying to get it done for the truck show in March. I was busting my ass trying to get it done because I wanted to release it in March at the truck show. Well, that got canceled, and by the way, the one next year has already been canceled. So I kind of lost my whatever, but I've got a lot of it done. I got bogged down in some of my deal, and so what I need to put together now is basically just the business model, and I'll keep working on it.
Well, let's be honest. In your defense, starting about March, you're making 100 phone calls a day trying to beg for loads. So, it was just.
And then we grew. Then we doubled the size of the fleet this year. So it's not like I don't have anything to do, but I do want to finish it. I do think it's something that I would enjoy doing, and hopefully you guys will enjoy reading it. After all, we do have 1,000 subscribers now, so that's a mile mark that I didn't think I'd ever see. But I still think y'all are nuts. But I'm glad you're listening. But anyway,
well, and that's we do this obviously because it generates profit. Like he said, if the money goes away, we're not doing this anymore. But we do this podcast. We put the time that it takes into it. We bring people in to give them this opportunity. The opportunity I wish I would have had. Think about back in 2010, my mindset was I'm making $800 a week, and it's not going to get any better than this unless I go buy a truck. That was incorrect. There were places then, and there are places now that you can go and increase your income in some way, specialize yourself, do something to make yourself more valuable so you can make that extra money you need to make to either save up the money that you want to buy the truck. But you can come here, and we do this to create this opportunity to knock down a bunch of these barriers so that when you do buy that paid-for truck, you've got all the other stuff knocked out. You know how to build the relationships. You know how to work the system. You know how to book loads. You know how to do all that stuff. Now you just start putting the money in your own bank instead of Larry's. So that's why we do this. And I've always the whole reason that I started the podcast back in 2015 was because I had to learn all this stuff on my own. There was nobody. Kevin Rutherford helped me a lot, but there was still a lot of stuff that Kevin couldn't or didn't or what, he's one guy. He helped me a lot, but I wanted to try to knock down some of those barriers for people because there was nobody there to do it for me. And that's why we're doing this. So. Well, we've gone an hour and a half. We've answered a bunch of questions. We've talked about 2020. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. So we will be back about another week or so. We've got a new driver coming on next weekend, so we might try to get another podcast in there. So send us an email, reach out to us, fill out the form on the website, and that's all I've got. There, you good to go?
Yeah. Well, we started out with wrapping up 2020, but I think 2021 is going to be. I hate to say this and jinx it like we did last year, but the projections are rates Q1 and Q2 are going to still stay where they are right now, and then after that the rates typically go up anyway. So I think I think the prospect is good for people to make a lot of money in this business next year. But just look, come do it the right way. Even if you don't come here, do it like we're telling you to do it. And And look, we've got some openings here we can handle. We're also very much interested in working with people who want to do it on their own but need the coaching. We can do that as well. And so that's probably something we're going to develop more this year than we have in the past, is reaching out to other people that aren't necessarily driving for us per se, but we can still coach you and keep you from making the mistakes that most people. Remember, 9 people out of 10 who do this for the first time fail. Don't be one. It's just a series of decisions. Take the time, do the homework. We're giving you everything. We give you everything. All you got to do is internalize it and use it, and ask for help. We'll help you. So anyway, have a great year, everybody. We'll keep doing this, and I think 2021, crossing our fingers. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Look forward to having this a year from now and seeing how it worked out. So
Yeah. All right. See y'all next time.
all right, man. See you.